Today I'm very happy to tell you about a wonderful new book that has been launched, a great contribution to Irish gardening. And it's the book called The Open Gardens of Ireland by Shirley Lanigan. Now Shirley, who also writes for the Irish Garden magazine, the one that I write for, the actual only Irish gardening magazine currently, spent 2 years researching this book, and she travelled up and down the lengths of Ireland to bring all of the gardens that currently open to the public in Ireland and put them in this book. Some 427, I think, gardens in total. So an enormous amount of research went into this, an enormous amount of visiting, an enormous amount of remembering plant names and chatting with gardeners. Because it's not just a book about the garden full stop, it's also about the gardener, and Shirley interviewed each gardener and has taken the trouble to write some very good text and description of the garden and her conversations with the gardener at each particular place. And she visited me here in Douentza last year, so you'll find it no surprise to note that Douentza is featured in this fantastic book. And how it's laid out, just looking at the subtext down here, the most comprehensive guide ever to gardens of Ireland, and that is true. There has not been a book like this to date. Other books featuring Irish gardens have tended to concentrate on the large estate gardens, the ones that, well, I suppose have come to us from when the English were here and have been maintained since. And how is this book laid out? And you can see here in the contents, each of the 4 regions in Ireland is there. It has its own division, and then within each the counties. So Wexford is there, as that's the county that Douentza is in. Just giving a bit of a flick through, you can see that many gardens feature a photograph and comprehensive text with everything from opening times, directions on how to get to the garden, and contact details of the owner. Gardens big and small, so you have, you know, fantastic places like Powerscourt Gardens featured alongside very much smaller places like Patana in County Wicklow. The first snippet I'm going to read for you is from County Limerick, and the garden is Terra Nova Gardens. And Shirley writes, "The last time I wrote about Terra Nova, I stated that no matter how often I visited it, it always felt that it had just been given a complete overhaul. This has happened again. The fairies have arrived, or at least evidence of them in the shape of doors and tree trunks, little houses and bits of paraphernalia. Visitors with small girls in tow will find themselves well served." And there's a photograph down here. And Terra Nova is a fantastic garden in Limerick that features the fairy influence very strongly. It's one of the up-and-coming gardens now in Ireland. And now we've skipped very quickly to County Wicklow, where I want to read you just a tiny little snippet from Huntingbrook Gardens. And anyone who's followed my channel for a while will have seen the, I think, 2 or 3 videos I've made about Huntingbrook, which is owned by Jimmy Blake and has a fantastic plant collection, a real plantaholic's paradise. And just the opening lines are enough to say it all for me. And here it goes. "Spring is like falling in love for the first time all over again, every year." So said Jimmy Blake as we bent down to inspect some of his special epimediums and a little beauty called Erythronium Harvington Snow Goose. Isn't that just the most wonderful romantic description of spring that you could ever read? And it just ties in with the character of its owner, Jimmy Blake, very well as far as I'm concerned. But now I'm going to bring you on to the section that deals with Wexford, and more particularly Douentza Garden, which of course is my garden. And my garden is open to the public, well, it's open to groups by appointment, and each year I have 2 open days to the public. And I'm going to write the bit that Shirley wrote about me when she visited last year. We had a wonderful coffee and cake in the greenhouse and a wonderful chat, and I wasn't quite sure what she was going to put into the book and what she was going to leave out, so I was a bit kind of nerve-wracked about it. And one thing that Shirley opened with was talking about what a plantaholic I am, what a plant collector I am, and I was very defensive about this because well, in my experience, people who are tagged as plant collectors very often get tarred with the brush of being poor on design. And I was at pains to point out to Shirley that I thought the design of my garden was really worthy of mention as well. However, now that I see what she's written about me, I'm not worried at all. Okay, now this is a bit of a long passage, so while you take in my Alstroemerias, here we go. To call Rachel Darlington a garden obsessive is to understate it a little. She loves plants, and she really loves unusual plants. Fond of growing from seed, her greenhouse is like a horticultural oven, while the garden is made up of the ones she prepared earlier. It's sited on a windy hill above Bunclody on the acid shale, which is hard to work, but you'd not know about all those drawbacks walking between the bulging, generous island beds that make up much of the garden. We made our way between colonies of Aracema grown from seed, sited under equally exotic-looking Tetrapanax rex and tree dahlias. Rachel uses large-leafed, fast-growing perennials like these as often as permanent shrubs to foil and back the flowers. Among her current enthusiasms, Roscoas and Brugmansias, both of which are secreted about the borders too, under the skirts of and between groves of roses, rhododendrons, and a Prunus cerula with a peeling bark the colour of burnt marmalade. She plays expertly with colour, mixing dark Acer and Sambucus over red and black Sweet William and pure black cornflowers. Pink Rosa Celeste combined with purple Cotinus conjugira was particularly pretty. She likes to surprise too by placing a succulent bed up on a reclaimed stone bank, filling it with aeoniums, echeverias and aloes, not plants that immediately remind one of the Wexford hills. Style is important. Clever touches can be seen everywhere, from the box balls that melt into each other like buns on an oven tray, to the knitted scarves and leg warmers on various of the trees. I suppose some of those exotics get cold here. Meanwhile, the lawn that wraps up the many borders is itself a picture, tended by her husband Norman when he is not tending sweet potatoes in the greenhouse between her cattleyas and succulents. This garden needs to work all year round because, in Rachel's words, it is looked at every day. Make sure to see the Wexford colours bed. I can't think of a better use for hardy purple orchids. So there we have it, The Open Gardens of Ireland by Shirley Lanigan, a wonderful book for anybody planning on visiting Ireland and taking in a few gardens while they're here. And Shirley has kindly given me a copy of this book to give to my YouTubers, as she says on the card. So we're going to have this book as a giveaway. So to be in for a chance of winning a copy of this wonderful book by Shirley Lanigan, Open Gardens of Ireland, then what you need to do is click like on this video, subscribe to my channel, very important, and finally, if you can just jot down below the video I've made that you liked the most, so your favourite one of my videos. And let me see, after 2 weeks I'll put all the names into a hat and draw out one, and the winner will get this wonderful copy of the book. And that brings me to the end of the video. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to take part. This competition is international. Anybody can win it. Anyone in the world. So do jot your comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.